Hello. I wanted to make this video to clarify a couple of matters because we've got a really silly situation where we've got people stating stuff that simply isn't true. I've heard from many commentators, and some that I really do respect quite a lot, that Wagner are not in Niger. That's nonsense because I have three Wagner contacts that have been messaging me ever since I started my channel, and they are there in the capital, and they are advising on air defence systems because France is literally a stone's throw away from carpet bombing civilians, which is what airstrikes are called. It's a lovely term, but it actually means terrorising and carpet bombing civilians into submission. Um, this is all for, of course, the French government, and the US has wasted no time in joining it. Now, there's a major problem here that Newland has gone in and warned them about doing business with Russia. Well, why shouldn't they? So we have a free market economy, do we not? You are free to sell your wares to the highest bidder, and why wouldn't you? So if Russia and China are going to give you 50% of the profits, then I think that is a lot better than having 15%. In fact, I can't think of anyone in the world who would subjugate its own people into dire poverty while a few people at the top get rich. Now, it remains to be seen whether the coup leader will actually do that. We hope he will. We hope he won't be bought by the West, as quite a few countries have been. In fact, there are so many African leaders now coming out of the woodwork who do have the stomach to resist what the West is saying, mainly because Russia and China are going to sort out their infrastructure. And it's been a long thing that I've always been puzzled by. I've always thought if you've got 580 million people living on less than £2 a day, and you suddenly take in a million immigrants into your country and they're multiplying by 40 million a year, it's not going to make a drop in the ocean. However, if you raise their standard of living in their country so that they come up to the level of your country, then everybody's happy, everybody's making profits, everybody's got a good standard of living. Surely that's a solve, isn't it? Rather than dropping cultures into each other. And that's not racist in any way whatsoever. It's saying help those people there in their countries to become rich. What's wrong with that? And it seems as though we in the West are absolutely and deliberately stopping that from happening. Now, when you look at the free market economy, if Russia want to and China want to pay them 50% of the profit, you'd bite their hand off for that, wouldn't you, if you were the leader of a country? It didn't take long for Victoria Nuland to pay a visit, start dumping her large backside round Africa, threatening people left, right, and centre, and make no bones about it. When you get a visit from Victoria Nuland, that is on behalf of the National Endowment for Democracy. That is on behalf of the CIA. We know that the National Endowment for Democracy is the legal arm of the CIA, and they foment tyranny by giving lots of money to the media, lots of money to bent politicians, and lots of money to rioters or insurgents or opposition. And then what happens is they cause all sorts of riots and there's unrest. Wherever Victoria Nuland goes as the angel of death, riots, destruction and chaos follow, and normally a overthrow of the leader. Victoria Nuland turns up for one simple reason: do what we in America want you to do, otherwise we will replace you one way or the other. Now, if you're a little bit in the dark about this, back in the day, the CIA removed a leader in Guatemala, love leader by his people, over tinned fruit. Imagine what they do over uranium or diamonds or gold. It speaks for itself, does it not? Now, the major problem that we have also with this nonsense that we have from France and America is they are losing their grip on Africa. Finally, we are getting African leaders that don't seem to be able to be bribed or given all sorts of concessions. And people will turn around and go, oh, well, why Wagner in? Well, Wagner have a perfect right to go in and protect the Russian interests. The Americans and the French and the British, we've done this for years and years and years, where we've turned around and gone, we're protecting our interests, we're going into the country. What is the problem with Russia and China doing it, because you're losing in a bidding war. Now, make no mistake about it. With the 30% of French households using the uranium that directly comes from Niger, they would also 70% of their energy is nuclear. So if they lost that, they would go into a bit of a recession. But there's no need for a recession. And why is that? I hear you cry. Well, Niger are only the 5th largest producer. Kazakhstan, why aren't you buying from them? Canada, why aren't France buying from them? Surely there's no problem. If Niger don't want to do business, we'll do business with Kazakhstan and Canada. No, but you can't rape the country for profits, can you? And your profit margins are so huge, you can't possibly afford to let Niger go. The French have done this many, many times. If you haven't seen my previous videos on what France and Arriva have been up to, including oil platforms and all sorts of strange goings on, please go and have a look at the previous videos, and it will become quite clear to you just how much France was involved in NATO making command and control centres in 2020, just how much France is involved in the looking after of private military companies like Wagner, but mercenaries, normally US ones and French foreign legionnaires. In fact, there was a French intelligence operative staying not 200 yards away from the main meeting centre of those places. And we all know how that turned out. Now, when we get to the crux of this, it's whether military aid can be given to Niger and whether Niger will be able to hold on to it. When we are funding terrorists like Al-Qaeda and when we are funding people like ISIS, you have to wonder what's going on. I mean, no country, I don't care whether it's Russia, China, Great Britain, USA, we should not be funding people who, down the years, have been killing all sorts of citizens of Western countries. Surely not. But it seems as though we will jump into bed with absolutely anybody when it comes to money. At the end of the day, the West is a whore who sells herself for money and for profit and nothing else. And woe betide anybody else who gets in the way or stands in the way of that. Whether it be prime ministers, whether it be ordinary working class people, we will all suffer. And make no bones about it, when they put sanctions on a country, they're not actually sanctioning those countries. Those countries will go through hardship, but so will you. You'll go through it economically because they're no longer getting those riches. Therefore, they're going to drive the prices up, and they'll drive them up more than they should do, so that they're still making their profit, because they're no longer making a profit from them. Do you see? The very, very simple facts of what is going on here is Africa do not want a bar of colonialism anymore. They don't want France. And remember that France, with the CFA franc, control the money supply of 14 countries in Africa. That's how deeply embedded they are. Their presence may not be there, but their presence is there. And they can control that money supply and they can shut it off whenever they like. So I hope that gives you an insight into what's going on. And for all you people out there who say Wagner aren't there, Wagner are there, and they're there protecting Russian interests, and they've an absolute right to be, the same as the USA or the French or the Americans when they say we're protecting our interests. They were invited by Niger, and as you've probably seen, there's loads of people, even Blinken has got really upset and said, oh, they're all going out and dashing out and buying Russian flags. Why is that? Why do they want to live under these Russians when they could live under our rule and they could have freedom and democracy? No, that's exactly my point, Anthony Blinken. Yeah, that's exactly the point. They don't want a bar review. They don't want to buy what you're selling. Okay, and it's one of those. Anthony Blinken's coming out and saying, I've got a bridge to sell you. I think they'd rather swim on their own.